Right, yeah, what's up internet, Since Media here. And quick video, I apologise, it's taken a bit of time to get this second, it's like a part 2 video, so I'm sorry it took a few weeks to get out. I've been in Portugal, doing some interesting stuff there, partly in a kind of Fab Lab place. I may talk about that if I can get some interesting video out of it. I've got some stuff on my phone which may or may not be up to scratch, even for my low quality control standards of phone-based video. So yeah, I've been away, and that means that the last video I launched, if you remember, was this video here of me getting a couple of new modules for my AE Modular, the X-Mix and the modulators. And I did a bit of a jam. This is the current setup I've got on my AE. It's basically the modulators and X-Mix plus the SV filter. Sound source is coming in from a Kastle plus my Microbit, sort of hidden behind my hand there. It's getting processed, modulated, ending up coming out through the Korg NTS-1, which is doing the effects, reverb, sometimes flanging. I was kind of doing stuff like this. Speech synthesizer of the Microbit there. So anyway, after that, I basically recorded some stuff. The actual things for the video I didn't record, but I just kept on jamming with that current setup, and I recorded about half an hour of material, well, maybe altogether about an hour of material, just improvising with that setup into FL Studio. And I'm just going to show you today, well, I just cut it up and I've organized it into my first EP I'm releasing. So one of my, I use several identities when I release music. I've got different identities with slightly different emphases. I mean, most of what I do is electronic in some way. Most of it, I like to say, is kind of experimental. Sometimes it's more beats, more melodic. I've got this identity here I call River of Electrons. And River of Electrons is, for the way I think of it, is more for like textures, and you know, where I'm making a music that perhaps is more ambient, more droney, but perhaps experimenting with specific techniques or instruments. So it's kind of music that's more about the texture of the sound. So I assembled that audio that I recorded from that jam with the AE Modular, and I've now released it on this Bandcamp, River Electrons. I'll put a link in the description, as Embodied Synthesis #1. It's like my first release I'm actually making, really, with you know, not even a full modular synth yet, because the modular itself is just doing part of the work, and you know, it's the Kastle and the Microbit at the moment making the sounds. But I've had a lot of fun with this. I mean, like I was saying in the last video, I think just having those things is pretty powerful, pretty impressive. So I recorded some, and now, just to give you an idea what I then did with it, I recorded it into FL Studio. Kind of starts like this. Not very controlled yet. There's no kind of synchronization, no kind of clock or anything. There's no beat exactly. Obviously, you're getting kind of sequences of modulation, and where different modulators interact or interfere with each other, you might get some strange rhythmic effects, which obviously I like. And this is an experimental music. When it got boring, I kind of cut it up a bit. You can hear that sort of high-pitched stuff is the Microbit going on. Gets a bit dirgy occasionally, you know. It's one of the really strong features of the Microbit is to have this voice synthesizer, which can kind of make these quite animalistic or vocal sounds. later on it speeds up a bit, I think. And then I made another track here that was like 3 shorter sections stuck together. I think this works quite well. Got a bit crazy with the modulation there, I think. So what I wanted to really show you, apart from just saying, hey, yeah, there's this EP out, is that here's how I processed that. So I've done very little to this. This is just raw improvisation, as you can see, just chopped up a bit to stick some interesting bits together and cut out the bits that were just sort of too boring. And then I processed it very, very lightly. So everything went through the same effects chain here. And the effects chain here has got 2 patches, as you can see, and an overdrive. I mean, the overdrive just adds just a little bit of overdrive to it, a bit of colour. Just thickens it up slightly. And this patcher here is actually just one of the standard stereo tools from that comes with FL Studio. It's one of the presets for the patcher, adding a little bit of stereo widening to it. That's not the big idea. The big one is this one here. Now, what I did here was that combination of stuff I had, it had some quite bassy or low frequencies that made it all a bit too muddy. So here in this patcher, sound comes in here and goes these 2 directions. So there's an EQ here, which is just a low cut thing. I've just literally, here at about 200 hertz, I'm cutting everything below that. So this path is just all the high frequency stuff. Nothing else happening to it at all. Just coming in here, cutting that off, goes straight into the output. So when you hear those highs, you're just hearing those highs frequencies untouched. What I thought was I wanted to clean up a bit and give a bit more definition to the low end. So what I did here, having taken the high frequencies off here, this low frequency, I just took this window here between about 60 and 200. So that's just the kind of low frequency there. I fed it through a noise gate. So what this is doing is it's basically saying, if that low frequency stuff is quiet, then get rid of it. Just gate it out altogether. Only if it is serious, only if it's going to get loud enough that it's really making that sound, then the gate lets it through. So it's a simple kind of noise gate. Takes a little, not very fast, but kind of ramps up, fades down. So it's really just to clean up any just sort of very quiet low level stuff, low level rumble. And then it goes through the transient processor where I think I've just maximized the attack. So if there is anything that's a bit of a kind of kicky type sound, it's not really a kick, but you know, it's got a kind of adds a bit more punch to it. And that's it. So really all I've done is taken that raw sound from that AE Modular setup, in fact coming out of my NTS-1, straight through the sound card into FL Studio, recorded it, and then now everything is just getting this processing. High frequencies are going through untouched, low frequencies are just being kind of given a bit of a trim or a bit of a clean up so that only the gate is just allowing the really, you know, the low frequencies through when it's serious, and they're just being given a bit of an extra punch. And I believe that's pretty much it. Nothing else happens here at all, really. Let's have a look at the master. Okay, the master, I don't really need that here, I think, but I'm just cutting it again there to make sure. Just going through the limiter, standard limiting, I think. Yeah, just limiting to pull it down a bit. Perhaps I've just touched the gain slightly, push it up, and then levels is just checks that. Well, I didn't care actually that I was going over the number of luffs and things because I liked how it sounded. It seems all right. So that's it. So that EP is available, and like I say, the post processing in FL Studio is not big and complicated. I wanted to catch that sort of raw sound. It's just literally, I thought maybe I could trim, maybe I could just give that low end just a little bit of a clean up, just a little bit of a sort of more definition. So that's what I've done. So thanks for watching. I'll put a link to the EP, and I will be back soon with another one.